7 years. 7 years they've been building up to this moment. The Justice League Dark Apokolips War. Based off of starting off with Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, which is an adaptation of Flashpoint by Jeff Johns, which led into a horrible dark age for DC Comics, and then Rebirth happened, and then Dan DiDio managed to remove Jeff Johns from power after he decided to resign and go work on his own stuff. And then Dan DiDio came back and was like, hey, let's screw this all up again and ruin everything that Jeff Johns and the creative team that was working on this for nothing. And then Dan DiDio was fired, and now DC Comics is in a state of flux, so they don't know what's going to happen. And then on the DC animated stuff, it was more like, okay, we got to go ahead and mirror the New 52. Then, oh wait, 3 years later, the DC Rebirth just happened. Okay, let's gradually, shiftly change things to match the DC Rebirth era and not be the New 52 era. So, Superman and Wonder Woman were a couple, then they got rid of that and retconned everything and changed it up and slowly but surely built plot in order to get Superman with Lois Lane, like it should be, and Diana with Steve Trevor, which didn't really last long because he doesn't even show up in this movie. There were ton of stuff they had to do, like change up the designs, aesthetics, and give Superman his more iconic figure and whatnot, and his clothing, instead of the New 52 design they gave him. And then you got Damian Wayne. And in fact, I just realized when I look back on it, I was like, what is Tim Drake in this universe? Like, I haven't heard from him. Does he even exist? And then we saw Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and I was like, did she ever show up in this series? Then they adapted Batman Hush, and I was like, why couldn't it just been its own thing instead of being part of the cinematic universe? But yeah, this was essentially DC's version to Marvel's Infinity War, but if it was rated R, Scott Snyder got what he wanted with the DC Extended Universe, and it was massively on steroids. Because this movie is dark. Really dark. And bloody. Guts. We would see guts in here. It's rated R, and they really made use of that. Matt Ryan, who plays Constantine in the DC TV shows, is voicing Constantine in the movie, and he's pretty much the main character in this thing, even though this is basically the entire DC universe in this interpretation. Like, I have not watched any of the movies. Let me point that out. I have not watched any of the movies, but I did keep track of what was going on in several points. Like, I didn't know what was part of the universe. I did know what was part of the universe. Like, I was thinking, like, Wonder Woman was having her own storyline that was going to take place after all this stuff, and then it would do that back and forth thing, like Year One and the Lie storyline they did. But that's not what they did, apparently. But, what can I do? And okay, here's what I'm about to say, and this might anger people, but while I do find Damian Wayne and Raven's relationship to be great, I still love the Beast Boy and Raven relationship, the Garfield Logan and Rachel Roth relationship. Not the one they did in Titans, which they're pretty much indicating that's gonna happen, but I'm talking about like in general. Like I grew up on that on the TV show that hinted at this. Back when, the OG Teen Titans. Then I like the comic stuff they did with them. But I just was like, okay, Damian Wayne and Raven, like, I'm not going to get offended like some people apparently did. I was like, this is a reinterpretation. They can do what they want with this. This is not like if they went ahead and had them be a couple beforehand, then break them up out of nowhere and then just get them together. They didn't show any mutual interest in each other in this revision of the DC universe. So, no complaints for me on that. But yeah, and this movie was very violent. Like, they show the Justice League being slaughtered, the Titans being slaughtered. It harkens back to continuity that was established in a lot of the other projects. Also, sorry if my beard and whatnot and my mustache is growing out of control and my hair. I've been in quarantine. We've been in lockdown. I've been in this house for God knows how many weeks because I am classified as a high-risk case because of my weight. And now I'm getting all hairy and everywhere and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm turning into Bigfoot or Sasquatch while wearing the NWO shirt. Anyways, so yeah, I hope to get this haircut eventually, or I'll have to ask my mom to do it. But yeah, so while this is going on, they did they featured a huge voice cast for this, the largest they've ever had for their animated universe. Probably, if I had to take my best guess, probably the biggest since the Justice League Unlimited series when they did the Darkseid War. Yeah, but by the way, this movie is loosely based off of Darkseid War, except there are some major changes. Like, they follow several beats, like Batman on the Mobius chair, but clearly it's not the regular Mobius chair that we all know, the one that was all knowledgeable. We also have differences like, well, the Justice League didn't go on a mission to kill Darkseid, but you know, Lex Luthor being part of the team is actually real. Like, they actually did do that in the DC Rebirth days. Like Luthor joined up with the Justice League, I believe, during the New 52 after the events of Forever Evil, I think. So that's still canonical, but this takes place after Superman's resurrection. So yeah, noticeable difference, but they still have some of the beats from that leads into certain stuff. Then you got the storyline with let's see, I'm trying to remember what else. They also adapted some of the Trigon stuff because since the Anti-Monitor is not an established entity in the DC animated cinematic universe, or DC AMU stuff. Yeah, long, complicated name. Like, I'm used to calling it the DCU, the DCEU, but now it's like, okay, come up with an anagram for this. But anyways, moving back on from that. So, this was, like I said, a very dark movie featuring the blood and guts, deaths of characters, like, ton of characters die, the slaughtering of the Green Lantern Corps. I don't really care about them. Like, the members of the Lantern Corps, I really feel for them, but I'm talking about, like, the Guardians of, I don't care about them. They're crazy. Like, didn't they at one point reveal that, yeah, we try to wipe away free will and whatnot by BS logic and only for it to end in a horrible disaster? And we tried to build an army with that? Yeah, should we just make an event comic where they're the villains at this point? Anyways, so yeah, Darkseid. Okay, this is basically what would happen if Thanos was heavily on steroids and decided to say, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to slaughter everyone. If he carried out his vision of the whole scene where he tells Captain America, I'm going to enjoy annihilating your planet very, very much. That's basically what would have happened if the heroes did not come from the portal scene. That's basically what would happen, except Thanos is, well, a gigantic rock person, Gollum rock, and has red eyes and omega beams. But yeah, and it turns out that Darkseid had a role in the reign of Superman and death of Superman, and well, he decided to see, hey, you know, my plan failed to get rid of Superman permanently, so I have another idea. Let's do the thing, but do it much more insane. Like, I went, like, and the one thing I was disappointed by was, where's Granny Goodness? Where's all the Furies, the servants of Darkseid, like Darkseid and all that? I don't know if Darkseid was killed in Justice League War, the second movie, but I was like, man, where's Granny Goodness? Where's all his loyal followers that we all remember instead of robotics of the Justice League members that were not viciously mutilated to death? I'm like, granted, it makes more sense to show that than what they did with Future's End, but still. But I was left wondering several times in this movie, like, man, it would have been great to see Darkseid's legions of loyal followers. In fact, wait a second, where are the new gods of New Genesis? Like, aren't they part of this? Like, when I looked at it, I was like, you know, I don't think they ever showed up in this universe. Like, but that doesn't work. That has to be And Trigon brought up, like, you are one of the new gods, so wouldn't it make sense to have Osiris, have Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, after she defects from Darkseid? Wouldn't it make sense to have the new Genesis characters show up and battle Darkseid, only for Darkseid to beat them? You know, adapt a little bit of Final Crisis and stuff, where Darkseid said there was a war in heaven and I won. But that would make sense to me. Though honestly, I would have been cool if they split this movie into two parts, maybe a third if they were able to push it. Like the like like they could do the first movie like a trilogy of sort finale where Darkseid and Apokolips go to war with New Genesis and he survives, and they don't do Final Crisis, but they build up to it. They never use the anti-life equation, which surprised me that Darkseid never used that. He just used brainwashing stuff that could be easily reversed. Um, yeah, I was wondering like that. Like, why couldn't they do an adaptation of the Death of the New Gods? It's to like have Darkseid and his forces wipe out the New Genesis characters in their own little cosmic war off to the side that build a prelude to what, like, maybe have it take place during the reign of Superman or during the death of Superman or both. And I was thinking they could do that. Then they could do the middle chapter where the Justice League and Titans battle Darkseid and only to be viciously slaughtered in the end. That could have been a short film instead of the 90-minute runtime. And then they do the final chapter, which is which could be considered the Darkseid War, because really Darkseid's the only new god left in this interpretation. So it really could just be called the Darkseid War. And yeah, and I was surprised they brought Trigon in. Like, I was like, well, it's inevitable Trigon's going to show up, but I didn't think he would show up and battle Darkseid. That's actually pretty awesome. And I did love the scene where it does imply that Trigon, the ultimate evil of the old era of gods, is actually a dad that does not want his daughter to date Damian Wayne. Okay, that was kind of funny. And then you got this realization that does Trigon actually care about Raven in this version? Oh, come on, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, that I don't know what happened. My camera's been acting weird lately. Must be part of the transition of a new computer. But yeah, I saw I like, does Trigon care about Raven? Like, he says this line when he's battling Darkseid at the end, where, you know, he says, "What a wonderful gift, daughter. Be well." And she even says early on in the movie that even awful parents care about their kids in some way. Like, she doesn't say love because that would be kind of weird, but he does seem to care about Raven in some way, even though he'll probably never admit it. Like, you know how Thanos, you know, kills Gamora because, and Gamora says this isn't love, like the traditional affection of love. This is more like I abused you and we were always spending time together, so really kind of counts in his eyes, in his twisted mind. But yeah, but it's not like the traditional affection love, but this is more abusive love and not even love in general. But anyway, so I'm not going to go into that. But Darkseid just being what Thanos could be if they went rated R for the Marvel Universe stuff. In fact, this is where DC seems to thrive at. This is like everything that they would want in the DC's extended universe. Have this epic finale. And there's this point in the movie that I was confused. Like, I had to rewatch that scene several times after I finished watching it, where John Constantine discovers that the Flashpoint Paradox event. He says this. He calls it the Flashpoint. Superman is generally confused by what he means by that. Like, did he mean Barry or did he mean Darkseid? I mean, like, it would have actually been an interesting idea if they did go with the Darkseid route, that he somehow found a way to control the Flashpoint Paradox in some way. But John Constantine says if he doesn't go back to save his mom, Darkseid isn't here. And I'm just like, oh, So this is Barry's fault. So that line where you told Swamp Thing that humanity was minding of his own business and then got an instant death sentence was revealed to be, oh, it's actually humanity's fault because one person elected to do something selfish. Or like, granted, he wanted to save his mom, but it kind of caused the end of the world. Twice. Probably 3 times. So we can use that iconic meme line from the Flash show. Damn it, Barry! So now you got that, and now all these people are dead because of Barry Allen's actions to go back in time, which failed miserably. And when I saw this, I was like, oh god, they're really good. Like, when I saw this, I was like, okay, considering how they've shown characters being killed off in trailers, TV spots, and whatnot, I was like, okay, they showed this scene where Don Constantine clearly sees Flashpoint. So does that mean this is going to play a role? Like, they're going to fix this somehow with time travel? And they said that this is the final movie of this universe, but let's be real. I think it's the end of this phase. I would call it the Darkseid phase. It would make sense. Honestly, I would sell this was phase 1, and then they go into phase 2 where they have the Rebirth storylines going on. So Barry Allen goes back, and this causes a Rebirth event. And it leads into, really, an adaptation of Doomsday Clock. I'll be all for that. So, yeah, I'll be all for that. Especially since, even then, the Justice Society doesn't seem to exist in this version of the DC universe. But, yeah, so Barry Allen, at the end, goes back in time after Darkseid's defeated. And, yeah, they know this was not victory. This was kind of a bittersweet victory. There's no sweetness to it. It's all bitter. And I was like, okay. And considering how much Nightwing I've heard has been treated like a chump in the DC, in this universe, like, he got beaten up by Damian, even though the abridged universe stories established that Dick let Damian win. But in this universe, no. Let's have Damian actually beat Dick Grayson, Nightwing, because... And then I was like, thinking to myself, oh god. And then they had him get his shoulder injured. He got a shoulder injury, an arm injury. And then they have him show up again, and he gets killed. And then they have him show up again, and he's in the Lazarus pit and goes crazy. Yeah, it's not a good day to be Nightwing or Dick Grayson. Not a good day at all. Anyway, so back to that. They do this idea where... So, yeah. Damian Wayne, Raven, Superman has lost his powers with kryptonite liquid. And I'm pretty sure Luthor to this very day was wondering, why didn't I think of that? Until Luthor got killed. Yeah, everyone... Yeah, this is the first and pretty much the only known movie I can think of in a comic book universe stuff where everyone dies. Like, the last, like, if they want to adapt Jonathan Hickman stuff, then that would be the second one. But, yeah, this would be the only DC stuff, animated stuff, where every character in the entire DC timeline of this events, of this universe, they all die. The Guardians are dead, humanity is dead, Superman, everyone is erased as time is rebooted to bring about probably its rebirth era. So, yeah. Swamp Thing says, the humans earned their fate. And then John Constantine brings up the Green, and, you know, telling him that the Green will die pisses him off when he screams out, the Green will not die! And subsequently gets murdered with the Paradooms, which are a genetic splice of the Parademons and the Doomsday creatures, so Superman has no shot. Yeah, so, yeah, and like I said, Lois Lane dies in this, and luckily Superman does not go into Injustice Superman much. He tries to murder Darkseid, but, you know, he doesn't kill him, because that would go too far. Oh, man. So yeah, Raven and Damien finally kiss. Yay! I don't really care. And a lot of people were hoping that maybe John Constantine could like maybe if they do the Rebirth storyline, if they do the next step in the DC universe, animated movie universe, where if they want to adapt the Rebirth stuff, they could maybe have John Constantine bring back their memories, the remaining survivors, try to at least keep some stuff around, like Starfire and Nightwing's relationship, because God knows the comics are never going to do that when Dan Didio was running things. Because Barbara Gordon and Nightwing are the couple, not the Starfire Robin couple that everyone grew up with. Anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It was an epic event. It was cool. I would have loved if they did the two-part or three-parter where they could have had the Genesis Apokolips War, or a version of Final Crisis, and then do the Apokolips War, where Darkseid's like, F it, I'm just gonna kill everyone. So we'll have to see where all this goes. If they make more movies after this. They did say this is the final movie of the universe, but they could just easily twist the truth and say, oh, well, it is the final movie of this universe because Barry destroyed it with another Flashpoint event. So really, you could say we did that and bring about the Rebirth era of the animated movie universe. So we kind of were telling the truth. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Justice League Dark Apokolips War. I kept calling it Darkseid War because I'm just, well, it's Darkseid. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Justice League Dark Apokolips War. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. If you like, comment, subscribe, and donate, stay tuned for more.